Good evening, everyone. Hi, this is your host, Mariana Leah, on the Magdelana Chronicles. And this is our extremely special show for this evening on our Christmas Eve night of 2021. And I have the utmost pleasure of introducing our featured guest tonight, who is Carol Messenger, the award-winning author of nonfiction books, memoirs, narrative nonfiction, spirituality, poetry, and fiction, some of which include The New Humanity, The Bringers of Hope, Humanity 2.0, and Your Awakening Attitude of Service, to name a few. She is a world-renowned channel for Jesus and the Ascended Masters' spiritual hierarchy as a whole. Since her spontaneous mystical awakening into cosmic consciousness in 1975, Carol has been gifting the world with helping the evolutionary process of humanity. Carol, hi, good evening.
Hello, I'm so glad to be here.
I'm so glad to have you on this wonderful show. I couldn't think of a better guest to have on Christmas Eve tonight, especially.
What a way to spend Christmas Eve. I know.
Yeah. How are you feeling tonight? Talk to us about the energetic.
Well, I'm feeling your vibe already, so I'm set.
Me and Carol, for those that haven't been acquainted yet, actually did an amazing channeling panel just recently, which will be released by the Beyond Being Human project very shortly. And we actually do have Michael Ney in our audience tonight, who might actually give us a couple of tidbits on that towards the end of the show. So Carol, this is such an honor for me, as I am a channel for Maria Magdalena, as known in many circles around the world, but also for the Ascended Masters and our galactic brothers and sisters. And to me, this is such an honor in my own spiritual awakening journey, as this is actually the week of my spiritual rebirthday, to have you join me and just to talk about your life. It's a one-on-one conversation about your story. And I want to put it out to the world. I want to let people know this amazing gift that you have for all of humankind. And we have so many of our bringers of hope now awakening more and more and evolving more and presenting this forward for the entire evolution of humanity as a whole. But people like yourself, the leaders, the galvanizers of our amazing community that is coming together now more and more with this giant, massive shift of awakening now that is happening all throughout the world. You are one of the original bringers of hope in our lifetime that we get to see. And so to me, this is one of the biggest honors of my life. And to me, you affirm why I do what I do. And you affirm the fact that I have a chance to put out my gift.
Likewise. I feel the same way. I'm just, I've had several moments this week since we made the decision on the timing of just feeling so close to Jesus, which is new for me because until January, 3 years ago almost, I didn't feel that connection like I do now. And for example, today, I'm watching a rerun of Kennedy Center Honors, and I'm just feeling how amazing these people are. And Bette Midler's song, "You Are the Wind Beneath My Wings," and all of that, and what that brings to heart for me is Jesus. No person, no human being, and it's like I feel so close to him as a person. He's the most incredible. And I never felt like this before 3 years ago. It just, and I didn't know until then that he's my master teacher and that he's been looking over everything I've been doing and that he's been the voice behind everything I've written. which was astonishing to discover. But now they're in his words and in his voice directly. But I just feel really grateful to have this job. I can't imagine a better job to have in this world than to bring hope and encouragement, because we need it. And what I know as a person is there is just nothing that takes the place of having that spiritual upliftment in your being that comes from simply meditation. It's just a very simple way to get there. And it's not hard. We just have to do it. And I just am so grateful that this was my job for this lifetime. I'm really glad I'm here.
Wow. Can you, in your way, explain how do people can meditate, like your version of meditation? Because everybody has different versions of meditation, of course. What is your version? How could people get more connected to Yeshua and to the greater kind of as a whole and to all that is in your way?
Well, I found it came to me. I began my initial routine that I go through. I think I started in 93, 4, or 5. And it was a passage from the end of one of the Alice Bailey books from Dwa Kul, the Ascended Master. And that was what started it. It connects me to my higher purpose every time I'd go through the routine. And in the process, I find that keeps me in the focus and brings me into it is to breathe in that light, breathe in that presence. And as long as you focus on that and you have something to hold your attention to keep you there, it doesn't matter what's going on with your mind. I have a very active mind and my brain moves really fast, as you probably do too. And when I am in this space, that's what I focus on. And I find that the breath is the secret to making that connection. And it's just a regular breath in and out slowly until you feel all of a sudden you start getting the buzz. And I just, when I start doing like this, I know I'm there. I start getting those electrical jolts and I know I'm connected and it's not just in my head. But I find that the breath will get me there like that. In the beginning, it took me an hour. Well, when I was reconnecting after a period away, I was in it for two hours a day for 7 weeks. But on average, an hour. And now I can do it in 20, 30 minutes or faster if I need to. If you do it every day, it goes faster every day. And you can get there like that. But the breath seems to be the key to bringing in that connection, that presence, and plugging in to your higher self. And if that's all you think it is, it's good enough because it gets you there.
When you say you feel the buzz, talk about the buzz. I want to get into that for anyone that will be watching this in the future or is watching it now around the world. A lot of people are learning how to do the meditation, or you've heard people say, okay, I know how to meditate. It's supposed to be in this type of way, it's supposed to be that way. But when you say you feel the buzz, how does that lift and that raising of vibration, how does that feel? Describe it for those that would love to understand what does that mean, because we want to see the difference of us being in our regular state in the 3D world, and then we feel that as a channel. I know what that's like. If there's a shift, there's a major shift, time stands still, you're not even here, you're halfway here, half not. And so tell us about the buzz. Talk about that.
I just stay in the focus. I stay on the routine. I repeat it and keep breathing through it and into it until all of a sudden I feel myself elevating. And I just feel a heart connection. It's not mental. It's always the heart. It's it's felt knowing. It's a feeling. It's a vibration. It's a frequency. You just keep breathing until all of a sudden you're like, oh, you just feel like this connection that's like, oh, I'm here. This is who I am. this is the real me. Thank God I'm still here. You can always plug into it no matter what's going on out here. You can always plug into it. And the breath, I find, is the easiest way. But it helps to have a process, a mental tool or technique. When I was first beginning, before I had a routine, I was using guided meditation tapes. In those days, it was cassette. And that helped me learn the routine and learn the practice. And once I discovered this little thing in the Alice Bailey book, it was that gave me, I felt a real connection to it. And I've shared it at the end of my book, You 2.0, of it so people can find it. But I find it's, you just focus until you feel that warm embrace. And you feel like, oh my God, you just feel like you're just full of love. That's what it feels like. And I happen to also feel a tingling, a vibration. And when I start getting the electrical jolts, then I know I've got it. Not everybody may do that, but for me, that's when I know I'm totally plugged in. No matter, even though my mind is still busy and I have all this stuff out here, you focus right here. And that's all there is.
That's what I call the firing up of your electrons, the firing up, literally firing up, PHIRE, almost like a fire up of your DNA, where your DNA becomes more open and it's more active and you have more access to your psychic abilities and to your own channeling. So talk about, I want to ask you a deep-rooted question, if you don't mind. Remember your first moment in 1975. What was it like when, I want to know, how did you start that amazing journey into the awakening, into your remembering, and then sharing it with the world?
The remembering. Well, first of all, let me mention, Jesus is saying a lot about in all the books and all the new video channeling, that the awakening that we go through is remembering our original self, which was an angel. Every single one of us was first an angel. That and the remember and the awake. That's what the awakening is. It's, you feel that connection with your purity, with the self that is beyond a personality, that is filled with compassion and grace and all of the things we want to be. Well, that's where it is. It's in the higher self, linked to the I am consciousness, linked to the universal, whatever. It's all the same thing. But the higher self gets you there. Well, it was a very strange journey that I went through. Not everybody has to do it that way. I learned the day after I went through it, I realized I didn't have to go through it, but I wanted to. I guess I like a little bit of drama, but I'm done with drama. But at the time, I didn't want to have any doubt. Apparently, I wanted 100% certainty that this was real. And it was very different. It was not like I didn't study. I didn't go to classes. I had been reading books, but I had no idea this could happen. My guess is it was a spontaneous Kundalini awakening. That I had that insight afterwards, later, years later, that may have been what happened. Because I was in a life and death threatening situation that triggered this connection. And all I know is the short version, because I've mentioned it elsewhere in the videos. After briefly going through, facing the dark side and having my 40 days in the wilderness moment where I was tempted by the dark one, I can give you all of these wonderful things. And I'm going, no, that doesn't sound right. And I just said, no. Something in me told me that this was not the way to do it. And so right after I made that decision, that commitment, I was in my bedroom in the dark. All the darkness went away and the room was filled with white light and all the walls disappeared. And I heard and saw a chorus of angels singing outside the gates of heaven. And maybe in some kind of thing about me. I don't know. All I know is at that point, for several hours, because this whole thing went on 6.5 hours overnight, I was visited by balls of light, extraterrestrials, but also, but the angels, all of this stuff was going on simultaneously, but I was receiving vision after vision after vision. It was the new revelations, which I guess was a download, because I was like, I couldn't tape it and bring it back the way I wanted to, because I was in an altered state of consciousness at the time. I was not fully in the body. I was kind of like halfway between here and there. And it just, all I know is that what stuck with me was not only the new revelations, but the thing that really struck me the most was seeing the entire globe lit up as if at night, and a web of lights all over the globe connecting every soul through the heart. We are all a light connected to the soul, like a web of light all over the planet. And I felt, I saw the past, present, and future of humanity. I felt a kinship with every soul on the planet. It was really profound. And that changed everything. And then at 2 a.m., I came out of it. And then it was a process of integrating, which took a while, you know, and then in the process of that, learning. And it was 6.5 years later that angels woke me up and said that I had agreed to write all these books. And I'm going, okay. So that was when it started. And I haven't stopped since. It's a question. I find that when you open your heart and mind, it's just there. Whatever your talent is, trust it, say yes, and step forward. And unending surprises in what we're capable of being and doing as a spiritual being is what I have learned. That we have all of these abilities. If we just say, all we have to do is say, yes, I accept this job. And it always leads to better things that feel whole. There's a feeling of wholeness, and there's a feeling of being blessed. That's what you feel when you're in alignment. That's how it feels. It's pretty nice.
Talk about your first book, Carol. I want to know about your first book. What was the process for your first book? What were the feelings when writing it before it came out? Did you have support? How was that process?
Okay, first of all, it was May 1982, 6.5 years after the initial awakening is when first of all, March 5, 1982, during a 7-planet alignment, 5 days before through 5 days after, I was the fully integrated higher self walking on the planet for 11 days. It was like, oh, this is incredible. And of course, then I had to come back to Earth, but that's what it felt like. And it was 2 months later that I started receiving the books, because I was not as pure a channel as I am today, and I still got all the concepts. I received everything one after the other, right, just like that. The very first thing is the new humanity. And that is the keystone of all of the work and all of the material. All of the books, regardless of their focus, they all talk about it in a different way. And it's all about what we all are looking at now. But that's when, I'm guessing I got it in 75, but it didn't start receiving it as material until 82. The new humanity, how we all were first an angel, that was repeated in all of the books too. It was like, I'd never heard of it before. And it's in all of the material, and I'd never heard of the new humanity and all of this stuff. And it's like, but I keep getting the same information over and over, decade after decade, which for me is a confirmation. Because whether it's the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, the 10s, or the 20s, I'm getting the same material, updated, refreshed over and over again for the new people. So I received that. I received the first book on angels, the hierarchy of the angels in the way that my brain wants to always be fresh and original. Let's not do it. So I don't do anything like it is, like everybody else gets it. And I don't read what everybody else is doing. Ever since my awakening, I stopped reading other people's work. And that keeps my ideas fresh and original so that nothing else is in the way. And it's a very pure source. But it's the same material over and over again all the time. Book on angels, the hierarchy of the angels, and how they help humanity, and the soul path, the spiritual path that we're all on, and all of that stuff. That's what I got initially. I kept receiving material through the 80s. I kept trying to prove, as I was trying to integrate all of this new material, because I'm a professional editor, I kept editing it. Well, then what happened was, because I hadn't published yet. Are you there?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Okay. I hadn't published yet. So in 1994, short version, I had been on a long-term temp job as an office clerk with the state of Colorado. 6 months. It was a great job. They let me do whatever I want. They loved my creativity. I was really good at organizing and refixing things up and all kinds of stuff. But I was hungry to reconnect in a deeper way with my spirit. So as often happened, in fact, ever since the awakening, it happened all the time. I just knew I had to quit the job to do this. So I gave notice and had no idea what I was going to do for money. And now what do I do? After I gave notice, now what do I do? And that's when the idea came to, after committing and taking the step, that's when the idea came to me. You can file for unemployment. I go, that's a great idea. Thank you. So that's what I did for 6 months. That took care of me. And that was the one time in my life I never once thought about money, ever. It was really freeing. But so during that period, for 7 weeks, I meditated 2 hours a day to feeling a need to just go really deep. Not expecting, I never have an expectation of what's going to come of anything I've done. I'm just kind of going with it. And then things happen. And I'm finding that's the magical way to do it. Just trust your flow, trust yourself, and just do what you know you've got to do, even if you don't know how it's going to end, because we don't know how it's going to end. And it always works out. So at the end of 7 weeks, all of a sudden, I started rewriting all the original material, totally new versions, updated, upgraded, same concept, same information, pure channel. Didn't require any work. And I wrote 6 books in 6 months. Initially titled it The New Humanity. The updated version is Humanity 2.0. The New Humanity is the subtitle, but it's the same main body. The Soul Path updated version, the angel book Wings of Light from the angels directly in their, they wrote it. And oh my God, all these other books. The First Incarnation. I was in the first group of, well, not the first group, but I was in the very beginning of angels who incarnated on the first planet in the first star system, as you were. And I remember it all came to me. It was all, and my twin flame is an extraterrestrial. She's not on this planet. The reason she's my twin flame is we used to be one angel. And then when we went into the physical, we separated. That's the twin flame. But she wrote that story, which became a memory for me. And she also wrote the book U 2.0. And I published it verbatim. And it won first place in an international contest in personal growth, which astonished me. It's a primer for how to connect and integrate your higher self. And it's loaded with metaphysical stuff. And I was astonished that it was first place. Are you kidding me? So that was very encouraging. Somebody, I didn't change a word of it. It's like, wow, that's cool. So that was encouraging. But yeah, I've been so I did 6 books. Some of them, there's so much material. I'm still publishing material that I received back when, and so but what's really nice about today, having done it for such a long time, is I just have such a clear channel. Plus, I'm a really clear editor today, that it comes through flawless in first draft. And that really helps. That helps a lot. Because the other thing is, when you've honed your instincts and your heightened intuition to recognize it, and knowing how to recognize what is, and how to it's just really easy. Just go with it, and it just comes out right. But those are the cornerstones: the New Humanity, the Soul Path, and the Angel books. The first one, Wings of Light, that I published. There's much more to come. But Bringers of Hope. Okay, then the thing that happened 3 years ago, January 2019, during 5 days between 2 eclipses that in January, Jesus woke me at 3 a.m. And I just immediately, and I had never even thought about it, never once crossed my mind that this could happen, which is the way that I like it. I don't want to know. I don't want to think about it. So when it shows up, I just recognize it, and I'm going, that's cool. And I just knew who it was. And so that was the beginning of the book, Bringers of Hope, which is the expanded second edition of that book. It has an entire new volume that was written this year. And that's when he told me, he talks about everything in that book. I mean, he has so much to say, and he's glad. I know I'm not the only person who channels him, but I have a particular bent of mind that perhaps I receive material in a unique way. I get all the stuff about the New Humanity. I get a lot of prophecies about the future and about the new humans. I get a lot of stuff about metaphysical stuff because I have a natural inclination to understand, and I just understand it. So that helps a lot. And I've just, everything I know about life, about myself as a person and as a soul, I received it all through channeling. I channeled it to myself in that heightened state of consciousness. And that's, so it's like, well, when I get it, I know it's true because I can just tell, I can feel it. You can just feel the vibration of what you're getting, and you know what's real and what isn't. And it's like, well, I just knew. So that was the beginning. And then we did another book last year, and I'm working on a book now that I will publish next year, Bringers of Light, the third wave. And that's all these new people that are coming up with all these new visions and solutions and answers to all our problems. They are the new humans, and you're one of them.
Tell us more about the Bringers of Light so people know to look for.
The Bringers of Light that's going to publish next year. In a blog that I now know, Jesus, even though I was writing at his higher consciousness, Jesus said, yeah, that was me. He's taking credit. He's like, yeah, it's all me. But one of the things that stuck out in from the blog that I did for 7 years, from 2011 to 2017, was I was given that there are currently 4 waves of new humans. The first wave, and these are the new young visionaries for each era, for each age, was 1947. I jumped in 2 years earlier than that. Like, I was just so eager. The Christ consciousness was on the planet, and it's like, me, can I go? me. So the second wave, mid-70s. Third wave between 2001 and 2011. So people who are now 10 to 20 years old, thereabouts. That's the third wave. And that's the focus of the Bringers of Light, because the fourth wave is not here yet. The fourth wave is 2047. we can see there's a rhythm to that. And then I just channeled, he sent me all this new material to go with what came before, even though it's timely as for now. It's that there are, of course, additional waves, and there are at least 4 more waves. As we continue to proceed forward, these new young visionaries come in periodically, and they bring all these new, the thing that's different about the new humans, as you and all of these awakened enlightened teachers know, when we are not in the 3rd dimension physical in our consciousness, when we are operating from a 4th dimension physical body, which is not just time, it's a dimension, and is a physical dimension. When we are operating from that as a physical being, then it's easier to access the 5th dimension consciousness, which is when we are in service in our attitude and in our actions. The thing about the 4th, because I got a lot of stuff about the 4th dimension body and brain and the DNA, and that's what ships all the DNA and activates all this dormant DNA. That's all this stuff, that's all these new talents and abilities that people seem to be born with today. More psychic, more telepathic, more vision. I mean, they just look, they just see the whole picture. They just know what the answer is, what the solution is, in a way we could not comprehend previously. Those are new humans. And when we see these 7-year-olds around us, or 5-year-olds, and these kids, not to mention the other ones, who are just going out of their way to solve problems and do something to help the people in their community or their school or whatever, they're new humans. That they were born with this heightened talent, these heightened abilities and talents, and they probably have a bigger brain. Because they are born with activated DNA that the rest of us can activate through our awakening. Mm-hmm. But the new humans are born with it. So if you have kids, take a look at who they are, because they are, I mean, we talk about, but they really can save our planet. And if you are watching this video, you are one of them. 99.99% sure of that, or you wouldn't be bothered with it. Everything that Jesus writes in the personal voice is to the you who is seeing this, who is reading this, because you wouldn't be reading it or watching it if there wasn't a part for you to play in not just being, oh, wow, it's so cool, but in doing something to help humanity and to help the planet, because that's what we need right now. Social improvements, social healing, social justice, and the planet. He talks about it a lot in all of the materials. This is a crucial time, but it's not too late. We still have time to turn it around, but we can't waste any time.
Carol, talk about what Jesus talks about in reference to the planet. What state are we in as a whole, Mother Gaia? What is happening, not only to the human condition, but to the planetary condition as a whole at this time?
He's very concerned about it. He talks about it in all of the new material I've been getting since 2019. And he's quite pointed about it. And as an editor, actually, I didn't rearrange anything in Bringers of Hope. It's the way I received it verbatim, including the structure. I add titles for chapters and sections, but the arrangement is just as I received it. He's very concerned about the earth, the oceans, the animals, the atmosphere. He says, fix the stratosphere and you'll be way ahead. Stratosphere. He said, the air, the waters, he's concerned about all of it. But he also says it's not too late. But he does strongly encourage people that if this is your calling, then act on it. There is no time to waste.
Does he talk about any kind of forms of techniques or any advice on how people can start or continue on people's work in reference to healing the planet especially in reference to the air and the waters?
I believe I've gotten some materials, some insights for that are in my book, The New Humans, which is the sequel. There are some very specific kind of information in that book that is definitely like there's a new form of energy that's the etheric energy.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a form of energy that we can learn to tap into as an energy source on the planet. That stuck in my mind like, wow. He also meant, in that material, it also discusses, a cure for cancer, a cure for Alzheimer's. These are all coming down the road, and if you have a gift in any of these areas, then go for it. So he doesn't tell people what to do. He says, listen to your talents, your instincts, your soul urge. Your soul urge pushes you and prods you and says, do this, you need to do this. And if you listen to your heart, your soul urge, that's the heart, then you already know what you're drawn to. That means go do it. And as you take each step, then the epiphanies increase and the clarity increases exponentially the more you step forward into it. This is what I have learned is true.
Rumi once talked about, there's a very famous quote by Rumi, what you want wants you. And that's an energetic phrase, if you really read between the lines of, if that's what you want to manifest, then that's what really belongs to you. Each side coexists within the other in that cohesive manner. I wanted to ask you, as part of my life purpose, I want to work together with the Mahatma energy that was created by the harmonic convergence in the 1980s.
87, was it 87?
Yes. And so, do you remember
that
that?
really changed things around. Yeah, it's like, who knew?
Where were you during that time? Where
was I? Let me turn my heat down 1 second. Hang on. Where was I? Yeah, I was attending a huge group of hundreds of people, Black Forest outside of Colorado Springs. A friend that I knew at the time had a sanctuary there, and all of us showed up. And it was just a day of, focus. It's not a big deal at the time. Who knew that it had such it really did change everything. It was like, it really did. We're going through that now. We're going through some kind of our convergence. We are in the age of awakening. It's also called the age of compassion. So we're awakening our compassion. Jesus has been writing to me in all the recent materials that 90% of people on the planet have an open heart. That's a very good thing to know. That means if you have an open heart, you're halfway there. And because that's real, dogma has nothing to do with it. Coming from an open heart means you are listening to your soul, to your spirit, to who you really came in this life to be. What are your talents? What are your interests? What are your abilities? Just go do them. And when we do that, we turn out to be quite magical in our own unique way. And that means we're not just living for ourselves. We're doing things to help other people in some way.
What comes to mind and what I'm getting the channeling, I believe from Mother Mary, is to ask you a very deep question. You said 90%, as Yeshua puts it, of people have an open heart, which is technically an open portal to be able to not only remember your true self, but to be able to provide the upliftment and raising of vibration throughout the whole planet. What would it really truly take in your feeling to consistently bring forth the extra, that other 10%, to have humanity awaken as a whole at this time?
Do your own thing. Don't be concerned about what others are doing. It's like, yeah, I know that's hard. But when we are each living our light, doing the best we know how, despite the personality and all the stuff that goes on in our lives, when we're really coming from a place of integrity, and our intention is to do the best we can and to live in service using our abilities, our talents, and our insights. That's the best anyone can do. And when we are trusting that, magic happens and things show up that help us expand that teaching tool. Really, as in the book, Your Awakening Attitude of Service, the thing that matters the most is compassion. When we live from compassion and let that be the one thing that dictates our choices in life, our actions, our thoughts, our words, and check ourselves when we don't, that is what heals, because we live by example. And if as long as we are making that effort, then even if we are 100%, and I'm not, that compassion is what reaches across, and other people are touched by it. And they don't have to believe or understand in the way that we do, or that you do. It's like everybody had it, the thing to remember is it's got nothing to do with the mind or the thoughts or the intellect. It's not an intellectual experience. It's a felt experience in the heart from a compassionate knowing. That's what heals us. And when people awaken to that little spark in them, that's what changes lives. Does that make sense?
In your feeling and your perception, for everyone watching and that will be watching in the future, what does compassion really mean to you? What does it represent?
That means not just looking out for ourselves. That means really thinking, okay, for example, a tangible exercise in compassion for me as a person, two things. If I could give two examples of how this was very grounded in reality for me.
Please do.
I don't remember that it was 2003, but I keep getting all these ancestry emails. And apparently my father passed away in 2003 because it didn't seem that long ago. But all I know is I was compelled to drive from Colorado Springs to Missouri, like a 12-hour drive, to see him and my stepmother in hospice. They were both there in the same room. And the thing that struck me, okay, bottom line, I'll just say that I was incested by my father from age 9 to 11, as I recall, as I remember. And then my beloved stepmother, who was only 16 years older than me, so she was very young at the time, she sent me away to live with my grandmother, who raised me, and not in a loving way. She may have intended that, but those were not her words. So my father had always been invisible to me, even though I was nearby and I visited with the family during holidays. He never showed until maybe toward the end, but he never spoke to me in a way that a father would. It was like he was always like absent, emotionally empty. And so when I saw him on the hospice bed, no idea what I needed to do or how I was what do I do with this? How do I do this? I don't know. I was like, I don't know how to do this. He never once said a word to me, not a word. How do I do this? And all I know is I was sitting there watching him asleep on his hospice bed with his arm blocking out the light in the room. Something just came over me. I was just filled with filled to overflowing with this compassion from my soul for this human being. And in that moment, recognizing this frail human being who didn't know how flawed he was, didn't know any other way. And it was in that moment I was able to forgive him from my soul. That to me was compassion. But it wasn't something I created or manifested. I didn't try to make it happen. I had no idea what was going to happen. It came through me and from my spirit. It came through me and filled me to overflowing. And so I had the recognition that this is what it was. That was really powerful. And then recently, in the about two years ago, well, a year ago, I've taken on, okay, I'm a dog person. I've always been a dog person. But 2 years ago, by happenstance, I took on a bonded pair of feral cats. I've been in my property at the time 12 years. And it was just terrible. The weather was terrible for 10 days. It was 0 temperatures, 15 inches of snow on the ground, and they were huddled in my tent shelter in the backyard. Well, that was the beginning. And I didn't know I was going to be keeping them because wasn't my plan, but no one would take adult cats. And so it's like, so a year later, all I know is in the process of that journey, one of the cats, well, they were completely opposite personalities. But one of the cats I named Angel because she always doted on the other cat. And she watched everything I did, every move I made. I was constantly rebuilding their shelter, which I still just finished. All I know is that cat expanded my heart in a bigger way than I ever imagined could happen. A year ago, the other cat was gone for 2 weeks, and this cat Angel she would I guess she's a very emotional animal, and I didn't know, and she would come running to me with arms lit up and mommy hug. She would come running across the 100 yards from the backyard into my arms, hug me. And that was the beginning of like, oh my God, who are you? And it was like, and so I've come to recognize over this year and a lot of decisions that, my God, this cat opened, both of them, but I have a particular, opened my heart in a way I never knew could happen, expanded my empathy, my ability to love in a bigger way than I ever knew I could. That's compassion. The cat had compassion. I had compassion. We just fell in love with each other. It was like really interesting, a wild animal. And I don't know, she comes when I call her. I mean, it's just incredible. So those two things in particular are examples, in my real life example of how I've seen what compassion actually feels like in my own life in a way I didn't expect. I wasn't going out of my way looking for it. Not to say that we can't, but it's something that wells up inside of you from within you, like you need to do this, so you do it, not knowing where it's going to take you, which is how all of this works.
But do you think compassion is an innate trait of human nature, or is it a learned behavior, like nature versus nurture?
Okay, puppy. I think it's nature. Puppy, who rules my life now, is 10 months old, and it's like, you're not going to grow up, are you? I had no idea when my previous dog died in February, Valentine's Day. I put him down finally after nursing him for 4 months. A day and a half after I put him to sleep, and I was crying because he was 14, and it was like a day and a half after I put him down, this voice came. Of course, I'm a channel. So the morning of that was a Sunday evening. Tuesday morning, 8 a.m., this thought comes into my head. I can come back if you want. Oh, yes, please. That started a whole journey. And there was this long conversation in my head, but then I began to have outside confirmations. Anyway, a long story, very long story. Maybe I will do the book. I don't know. All I know is nature over nurture, because he's a puppy. Maybe that's part of it, but it's like, I don't know. Are you sure you're the same dog? So I'm not sure, but I was feeling like, I think nature, because this dog came in with different genetics, a different genetic background history. And I think that affected the personality. In terms of, what was your question?
Do you think that compassion is an innate trait of a human as a whole, or do you think it's a learned behavior?
Let me channel that.
And then while you're channeling that, draw the comparison or the relationship between compassion and forgiveness, especially for our Christmas Eve special, especially for a night like tonight, in terms of Christ consciousness and cosmic consciousness in honor of Yeshua. And the relationship between compassion and forgiveness. Are those traits of ours, or are those behaviors we learn to remember and awaken to? That's
Both.
actually a question from Mother Mary.
It's
to
both.
answer.
Let me see what I get, and then you can add on. Okay. And I do need to close my eyes to keep myself out of it. Okay. Okay. And this is Jesus speaking, I'm feeling. Okay. You're born with it. You've always been this way. You were born good. You were born kind. All of this other stuff that happens is life. It's not the way you were born. You were born whole. This means you already knew when you came in what goodness is. You already knew when you came in what compassion is. This is innate to your being, your eternal self. It's got nothing to do with the personality or the life experiences. You came in with this already in you. He talks about that in all of the material. Compassion. And that's why he writes about it in that book. And he calls it an attitude, because when you have the attitude of compassion, it changes the tone of your and focus of your life. It's an attitude. So you can choose it. It's a choice. In the conscious adult person, it's a choice that, yeah, just let it be. Let it happen. Just give in to it. It's a good thing. Okay. And of course, it's the same thing as forgiveness, because that is, okay, he says a lot to say about forgiveness and holding people accountable and all of that and all of the materials. But let's see what we say, Neil. For example, we'll come back to it, geez. I still have a problem with the experience in this person up to this body and personality from the Father, and the way it affected the personality and relationships. But I still had that epiphany, that moment that just filled me to overflowing of true forgiveness in that moment. I think so. It's like they're not the same thing. There's a forgiveness, there's a moment of recognizing that that other person is not being the whole self, was not tapping into that whole self. And so while we may want to hold people responsible and accountable when they do wrong, and we should, at the same time, a recognition that we're not all there at the same time, and we're not all there when we want to be there, because we are still dealing with the impressions, the impact of the world, the influences, the body. So it's like, that's why we need to meditate every day to re-anchor, reconnect that higher vibration of who we really are, and not buy into this other thing that we think we are. So let's see. I say this, Jesus. When I said, Father, where art thou? It was not because I see God as separate from myself. We are God. The divine that we think of as the God consciousness, that's who we are. That embodies our essential nature, our essential being. Is how we came in. That's who we are when we were born. And when we are awakening and rekindling our spiritual kindness, we are tapping into our eternal nature, which is what we call God. We're all part of the same thing, however you define it. When I say Father, where art thou? It's not because I didn't understand it. In that moment, I knew that I had chosen this path. In that moment, I remembered, this is why I came. This is who I am. And not only I, but others also. Jesus always says, it's not just about me. Me. It's not just me. I'm not the only one. All of these great ascended masters, spiritual teachers, spiritual guides, healers from all over the planet, from all cultures, all races, all faiths, all religions. They are all here as teachers to show you how to do this for yourself. I happen to have some recognition, he says, but I am not the only one. I am your brother, he says. Don't look on me as the one and only. Look on me as an elder brother. I am your brother, he says. I just want to show you how you can do this too, because I know you can, he says. And in that, I get the emotion of, thank God he's forgiving. When I think of all my flaws as a person, I just feel unending forgiveness and love from this being we call Jesus. You call Yeshua. I just feel there's just nothing akin to it. And if you have a different master that you follow, same thing. He says, we're all here to help you. It is not just me. I don't do this all by myself. We're all here to help you. And because you can do this too. I feel nothing but a pure consciousness, a pure energy of love from this being. And it's like, I am just so grateful for his patience with me. He's very patient.
I think also that compassion and forgiveness allows the portal to open for that open heart. It allows that opportunity. It allows that doorway. It's almost like compassion and forgiveness is the key to that doorway that opens the innumerable doors to the platform of all life.
Yeah.
Not only just earthly life. I feel
all life.
That we are here to reconcile those karmic threads, those entangled etheric knots, those old wounds, those life lessons, those timelines that we didn't heal before, or those lessons that we chose to carry on through in this lifetime. We are all here to reconcile those. But within that process, it's not really the destination that matters. It's really the journey. Because within that journey, within that process, and I believe Michael Ney said that from Beyond Being Human, that it's not the destination that matters, it's really the journey. And because that's what really helps us evolve. And even the new generations that are now reincarnating and that have that open DNA, have that advanced ability to be able to know human history, be able to know the galactic history and everything else, they're still going through that journey. That because why else would they be here? They're volunteering their time to be here, right? On a non-linear level, linear level, whatever they want to have as part of their soul contract. But they choose to be here because they still have things that they still need to finish reconciling and learning. And I feel gifted with the message from Mother Mary that compassion is what leads to forgiveness, and forgiveness is what leads to compassion. It's almost like what came first, the chicken or the egg? And it's almost like the infinity sign, number 8, the Vesica Pisces. It's almost like, what's the Vesica Pisces? The harmonic conversions. The divine feminine converges together with divine masculine, because it's almost like compassion is that divine feminine trait. And forgiveness could be the divine masculine trait, or they coexist together in a cohesive framework of patterning. And yes, that was, thank you, Michael. Michael pointed out that Lao Tzu said that it wasn't a destination that was important, it was the journey. And so that's the open doorway to that open heart. Because once you have the compassion and the forgiveness, once you have any of those things, then that's what really truly leads to the doorway of all life. And that's the key. And so on tonight, on this amazingly potent Christmas Eve night of 2021, it's such an amazing thing that both of us channeling Yeshua and Mary, and we feel so connected that we get to bring forward these messages. And so I know you've mentioned, because you and I do have these amazing conversations when we definitely have the time to do that. And I'm so enamored by your ability to be able to bring forward such a gift to humanity day in and day out with every breath that you take. What has been the new message of Yeshua? Bring it forward for us. Let the generations that are going to be coming in the years to come, let the children that are born now, the ones that know compassion, the ones that know forgiveness as their own innate trait, they don't have to remember or to learn. They know they have it already. They operate from that attitude already as they are born. Once they breathe that Shekhinah breath as they are coming out into the world, let us know, what does Yeshua have to say to us now in these very crucial moments of our massive awakening of humanity?
Okay, let me see what I get. Dearest ones, I speak to you, you personally, as I know you are listening. Trust what you know is true. Do not second guess it. Do not question yourself. Act in faith with absolute certainty that what you know is true for you is your path. You are one of a multitude of new beings in this earth, among many earths. You are here with a unique ability to see what is real, to hear what is real, and to trust your own innate understanding of the wholeness of not only people, but of this world called Earth. I call upon you now, my dear ones, boys, girls, men, women, of all ages. If you are watching, I call you now. Step forward into your true nature. We need you. It is an urgent time. There are many lives you have lived. This is the last one that matters. This is the one that matters more than anything you have ever done or thought about. What you do in this lifetime is not just about yourself. You came here to serve, to bring peace, to bring healing, to bring balance in social circles, racial justice. Integrity must be the keynote of your life. And when you do this, every step you take, every action, every word you speak will be transformative for those who hear you. Do not hold yourself back. This is a time to shine. This is a time to stand up in your fullness, knowing why you are here is to help people, the earth, the seas, the animals. You feel this calling in the very depths of your being. And whatever it is, take hold of it fully now. I call you. We need you.
Wow, that was beautiful, Carol. Wow, I actually had to hold on to a rose I got today before the show because I truly believe that as a divine Sophia and the rose, and that truly is connected so deeply within the woven threads of Yeshua and the tapestry of all life. And so I actually have a ritual every Christmas Eve where I give myself a rose and I hold it and it just blossoms weeks upon weeks. It never dies. And then I take it and I give it to Mother Ocean as an offering. And what happens is the Mother Ocean actually throws it right back to me. And I keep it in a veil as like the bride and groom within that divine union of consciousness. And I throw it in the ocean as an offering for humanity and for prayer, for healing, and for love, and for that light to shine through. So what you said is a message that was right on point. So thank you, Yeshua, for that. And I wanted to add a few things from Mary and Mother Mary and Anna, Yeshua's grandmother, and Joseph. And I think Luke is in the building. I had a reading once from a good friend of mine, and he said, when you come with the whole entourage of angels and the Elohim and the Seraphim and the Oraphim. But before I do that, I wanted to just repeat what struck out most is you said a keynote of your life. And then I got the message to add to your amazing message from Mary Magdalene saying that you are here to bring forward the balance into being, not into your being, not into their being, her or his being or our being, but the balance into being as above, so below. What happens in the ethers happens on the earthly plane, and what happens on Mother Terra happens across the entire galactic spectrum. It is not separate. It is not some high above the clouds field. It's all around us, encompassing everything within us. And as we surround ourselves with that keynote, as Yeshua eloquently put, the keynote of your life, the keynote of our life. As we say our life, we mean the entire galactic arena of all the brotherhood and all the sisterhood of light, the sun, the stars, the great central sun, and all the sun people, and all people of all life. For this is a stage, one of which stages on the platform of the grand arena called life, the tapestry that weaves the threads of destiny and journey all throughout eons of time and even before time's creation, within the Alpha, within the Omega of our exploration, our exploratory experience upon earth as ascended masters, angelics, the hierarchy of man. Hierarchy of man, what an interesting concept. Humanity, humanolosi, the Homo sapiens, the animals, the plants, the mycelia, the earth, the waters, the inner fires, the inner volcanoes, the crystalline grids of all life. We are all connected. We are not separate. We are all united. We are not unapproachable. We are not some deities flying in the sky. We are all one. We are just as connected to the human grid as we are to the earthly plane, or as we are to Lyra, or as we are to the Seven Sisters, or to the Andromedans, or to Tatiana, or Cassiopeia, or Orion, or even the councils of Arcturus, the councils of the Pleiades. We are all together as one tribe. And so therefore, the keynote of all our lives and all our existence is deeply rooted in the seeding of compassion, in the seeding of that which is on earth known as forgiveness, but that which is on other planetary sections and spectrums and fields known simply as an action of faith. That which holds the glue and ties the pieces of faith together. Our brother Jeshua, truly Jeshua, named faith when he spoke at the caves of Galilee over 2,000 earthly years ago, said, "Can faith be held hostage?" What did that really mean? Can your faith be held hostage? Does that mean that someone outside of your being can really wither your weather? Really affect the central plane of your existential existence? You are the controller. You are the commander. You are the co-creator of your own lives. And truth be told, we say to you on this Christmas night, that you, us, we are the ones we have been waiting for. Jeshua, has played a significant role in offering the greatest gift to humanity by being the divine expression of that which on earth we say again is called forgiveness, or is referred to as forgiveness, but on every planetary state is a simple act of compassion, understanding, a higher vibratory frequency merge with a sense of unconditional love, dubbed as 432 gigahertz on the earthly plane, or 528, or 999, or 693. We understand that the openness, the portal within your hearts, allow your own divine self-expressions to flourish and blossom as you are going through this human experience, feeling the greatest thoughts of positivity, upliftment, feeling the joy within, the harmony, the unity, being united, that feeling of oneness, union, compassion, marriage of your divine feminine and your divine masculine together as one, feeling the etheric weather of your soul. Within that feeling, how could any external factor, if you truly open your heart, truly understand the workings of your own life and your own soul, how could you truly allow the power to be taken out of you and given to the external force if you truly understood that no one has the control to wither your own soul's weather? You are here to be creators. You are here to be the volunteers of the bringers of hope, as Joshua put it through Carol. You are here to bring forth a new way of life, a new understanding, a new perception, a new position of what life truly represents on this planet. You are the bringers of light. You are the bringers of hope. You are the Moshiach to the Jewish faith. You are the Isa to the Muslim faith. You are the Messiah that came 2,000 years ago and is still returning now. This is the second coming. This is the return to the innocence of your own soul beingness. This is your absolute opportunity to return to the balance of your being. This is the return of the Shekhinah and its teachings, the presence of that which envelops the world in true, unconditional, immortal, unbinding, unwithering, unwavering love. The frequency that heals everything that breathes and lives. And that is what you are here to truly do. It doesn't mean you have to act. It doesn't mean you have to perceive to do anything outside of your scope of capability. You just have to show up. Just show up to the stage of life. Show up to the stage of your own life. Show up to the authenticity of you. Show up to the kindness that precedes you, that which is you. Show up to the compassion that envelops you. Show up to the unconditional love that breathes you into form as that prima materia, that brings sound into form, as it says in Genesis. Be that compassion, be that sound of glory, of radiance, of love upon this planet. For that which is what Mother Gaia truly needs right now. It needs love. It needs to be seen. It needs to be heard. It needs to bring forward the mustard seed that was buried over 2,000 years ago. It needs to come forward now within this cosmic consciousness realm. It needs to come forward and envelop each human in the humanolosi. Within each human soul, fractals need to return back to its wholeness of being. As we are all returning to the age of innocence once again, we are bringing forward a new earth, a new life, where love, compassion, and forgiveness is nothing but just an act of love. It's nothing to be learned, understood, remembered, or reawakened to, or reintegrated back to your soul. It is something that is already there. So, dear ones, we ask you on this holy, sacred, holy grail night to bring forward the age of innocence yet again. For that is what you have stepped and shown up to in many lifetimes. And we ask all of you, star seeds, hybrids, walk-ins, experiencers, our galactic brothers and sisters, our human friends, brothers and sisters, and our star nations, all to come together. We ask from every direction tonight that we all come together as one tribe, one heart, one mind, within the glory of the all that is, and bring forward the sound, which then becomes the prima materia for the form that which makes the self-expression of the new earth we are seeing and about to continue seeing from this day forward to infinity. Amen. Blessed be. Namaste.
not surprised. Wow. Thank you for being my sister.
Well, you know what they say, we shared many lifetimes together.
From the beginning.
Yes. Carol and I come from a very long lineage of archangels and angels and the seraphim and the Elohim. We embody the Elohim in the Christ consciousness. We're aspects of the Christ consciousness, as multitudes are.
As multitudes are. Jesus recently wrote in the new book, there are many Christs. Many have reached Christ consciousness, all of the ascended masters. So he doesn't have hubris. He does call me brother. That's, he walks in humility and pure love, which is why I love him so much.
He has been in my life since I was born in this human life. And I've struggled. This is the first time I actually share this on this particular night and show, because I am so grateful to him for that connection. I have wavered away from him many times. My father was born Jewish. My mom practiced the Russian Orthodox and the Greek Orthodox religion, and it was very difficult to be in the middle of all of that. Being christened at 6, going to yeshiva and studying the Jewish faith, and really getting deeply involved and rooted into the Jewish faith until it really built a bridge of distance between my mother and myself for many, many years, from which we have yet to still reconcile and recover. And I have wavered away from Yeshua for many, 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 many years. And yet he had come to me and approached me in many occasions, especially in 2010 in Canada at the Notre Dame de Paris Cathedral, one glorious night in September, and said to me in my own native language, as much as you will run from me, I will always find you. And I've never shared that. I think I've shared that with one person, but never publicly. But one day, when you look for me, I will come for you. And when I come for you, you will then relive the promise that you vowed to me many moons ago. I will be with you. And for those that are watching, for those that have really read the gospel, or really read the Bible or the Torah, or really studied, connected with the Christ consciousness and the timelines of crucifixion, you will know what that means. As Yeshua once put it, I set out a map, he said. I give you a road map. And many have wondered throughout eons, what does that roadmap mean? And he had sent out a roadmap for compassion and for joy. And it was almost like the clarion call for calling people and heeding their call. So if they feel a certain way and then he connects with them, it's almost like, yes, I'm giving all of you tribes, all the tribes. There's more than just 13, as it has been listed in human history, a roadmap to find me. And when you find me, I will then find you. But the vow that we all vowed to protect the divine feminine, to protect the divine Sophia wisdom, to protect the Shekhinah presence, the vow that we made to Yeshua in one way or another. When Maria said, Mary Magdalene washed his feet days before he entered Jerusalem for the Pesach celebration, and he had known that the divine plan was coming to a close in the crucifixion. It was drawing near before Mother Mary came to visit him, and she sat by his side. She said to her that he was never truly anointed. He was baptized, but he was never anointed. And he was trying to foretell what was to come. And now that's why we talked about the forgiveness. She made a vow, I will be with you. And throughout history, Mary, in many incarnations and lifetimes, forgave the things that have occurred because she had to understand that it was part of the divine plan, but struggled in silence to truly embody that forgiveness for eons. And so I understood that last year in 2020, what Mary had gone through in so many different ways of trying to find her beloved, find the scope of what she was feeling, knowing that it was a divine plan, learning to forgive, learning the way of compassion, not only towards life and life circumstances, but learning the ways of compassion towards humanity as a whole.
Yeah.
Learning to forgive, because what Yeshua wants to add to Carol's absolutely incredible message to humanity today is that compassion and forgiveness, yes, Carol, it's merely the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
But the doorway to bridging both to the open heart of humanity,
Mm-hmm.
to impact and to continue to further the morphogenetic anthroposophical creation of our human evolvement and our advancement of DNA on an entire galactic spectral level is understanding that everything is part of the divine plan. And when you are flowing, as you said so eloquently, Carol, when that cup overflows, you feel that overflow. King David used to say in his Psalms, Kosi Rivaya. Kosi Rivaya in Hebrew means my cup overflows. Right? What does it overflow with? I add in Hebrew, Chaim, Chaim, life. When you're Kosi Rivaya, min Chaim, with your life, when your life is overflowing like a cup that overflows with abundance, love, joy, compassion, humility, humbling experience of honor and love and gratitude, you understand that everything is in divine flow. And when you understand that everything is in divine flow and the human design is just merely a stage and a platform for that expression of divine flow, compassion and forgiveness is merely an act of understanding. And I was told once, and I never forgot it, compassion is the greatest thing in the world. But besides compassion, understanding is the greatest thing in the world, because we as human beings seek to understand. We seek to understand our lives, our existential purpose, our existence, our missions, why we breathe, why we exist, why we live, why we can smell, why we can taste. What is life all about? And when we have understanding, we have the greatest gift in the world, because that understanding leads to the greatest other gifts like compassion, forgiveness, but most importantly, love.
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 Love is the greatest force in the universe or universes. Love is what binds us all together.
Yes. So I'm going to take this rose tonight, and I'm actually going to go to the ocean tonight. And I'm going to offer it to Mother Nature and to Mother Ocean tonight again, in honor of Mother Mary, as I always do. I call it the Mother Mary Rose and the Shahina Rose. And in honor of you, Carol, and Yeshua, and Mary Magdalene, and Sana Kumara, and Shakti, and Shiva, and Saint Michael, and Anna, and Joseph, all the disciples, and the Elohim, and the Seraphim, and all the archangels, and all the angels in the angelic hierarchy, and most importantly, in honor of you, Carol, because without spiritual ascended leaders like yourself, the bringers of hope like yourself, we wouldn't be here today. I thank you for that. I truly do.
Thank you. I'm very glad to be part of your journey.
A long-lasting friendship.
I'm so glad we crossed paths again in this lifetime. So much has crossed through my mind as you speak about everything, because I understand it all. And when you have the gift of understanding, it takes away all the worry and all the doubt. And you just see what you have to do and you just do it.
I think that's one of the best statements I ever heard. When you have understanding, you see what you have to do and you just do it. Don't question it.
Part of it, and it is a heart journey to get there. And it's not all the books in the world won't solve it for you. You have to know how to go within yourself and open up to it, and then it's a blessing. When you feel it coming into you, it's like, oh my God, this is so cool. And it is. It's the best thing that happens to me in this lifetime. Being in that presence is everything.
You know what, I think Sana Kumara was just speaking along with Isis and other ascended masters. I think most of the ascended masters are here because they surround you daily, and myself, the most part, when I allow that open portal, when I get Mariana out of the way, when I work with the ego, I befriend it, I learn from it instead of discarding it or judging it. Judgment. I asked myself my whole life, and it came to me yesterday, and I think it was affirmed tonight. I want to share something with you that I've never shared before. And I had a couple of, friends and close loved ones that we just talked about that as well, but we didn't quite grasp it until last night. What detracts us from those feelings of compassion and forgiveness and love and kindness and understanding? Where's the core root? As part of my job as a DNA activator and a soul fractal retriever, what detracts us from those things? What keeps us entangled in that distance from source? And it came to us: judgment and ridicule. Judgment and ridicule to what? To ourselves, about ourselves. If we think about how great and eloquent we speak to others and how much we thrive on trying to uplift them, and how much we yearn passionately within our soul's desire to raise other people's vibration and to uplift and overlight the ones we come in contact with all throughout the world, right? But then how much time throughout our day do we practice judgment of ourselves, judgments of our life circumstances, the world around us, and others at times? We're all guilty of that. And yeah, you could call it ego, yes, but really in reality, if ego shows up, I look at it not as an enemy. I look at it as a friend who shows and highlights to me the things I still need to work on. Because clearly, if you're showing up for me, then clearly you're trying to be a friend and you're highlighting what I still need to heal, what is still triggering me, and what I still need to shine the light on, which parts of darkness or fractals in my mind or in my heart that are still closed to the all that is. So judgment, core root that has been seated in us for eons and eons and eons. And when we take that away, when we repattern ourselves from judgment, when we repattern our DNA framework, our perception of what judgment really is, we understand that it's no longer serving us or needed, never has served us before. Other star nations do not have judgment. They understand compassion. They understand, they live and breathe in love, understanding, compassion, and kindness and forgiveness. It's a lifelong journey. They breathe it. We often in the human body, in the human condition, because there is nothing more difficult, some may say, than the human condition, understand, I have learned to live as fight or flight, and that judgment is almost like a self-defense barrier system for ourselves. We are coming into a new world, a new pattern, a new cycle in 2022, a cycle that will beckon us to reevaluate our lives and really look at the things that no longer serve, for they detract us from our life purpose and our life mission. And if we continue to go down those routes, harsh lessons will continue to follow until we finally learn. And the greatest thing about a lesson is once it's learned, it never visits us, never shows up. People disappear, places disappear. We sometimes move, we change the course of our lives or our trajectories. We sometimes change how we talk, how we speak, how we walk, how we look, how we dream even. And so we ask a final healing prayer for humanity, for our animals, for our waters and our air and our inner fires and our crystal grids and our inner planes. We ask that judgment be rooted out, not be rooted or seated in any longer. Because in the Christ consciousness, in the timelines of the crucifixion, judgment is what preceded the story. And that story can still live on to eternity in its infinite form, but changed in the perception of its newfound form. Instead of judgment being the prima materia for the root core wound of the divine feminine and the divine womb of the birth mother, we ask that our perceptions be changed and that we learn only the beauty and the essence of understanding, kindness, compassion, and forgiveness from the crucifixion story. And we let that cup, that kosi rivaya, as David once said, overflow with compassion of immortal, eternal, infinite achavat olam, which is infinite love. And let that be rooted and seated in our bones, in our deep tissues, in the fibers of our being for eternity and more. In every universe, in our omniverse, in our multiverse, every galactic spectral field, let it be rooted in. So that way we and our children and our children's children and continuous generations learn only to see from pure heart, purity of thought form and no other, and learn the concept that beauty stems from within out and never the other way around. And that no one or no circumstance in the human form or condition can wither our soul's weather. And that is what we wish to seed from now unto eternity, as we let go of everything else that no longer serves, the old dendritic didactic patterns that just no longer serve our human, our new human, as Carol has put, our new humanolosi, homo luminous, which is the beings, the humans of light. That is what we want to see today. That is the mustard seed that broke the silence of Mary Magdalene over 2,000 years ago. So the greatest thing about Carol and other channels, and I pray should be within that lineage, I hope to serve that for the rest of my life, is that amazing channels like Carol get to bring the Ascended Masters messages out to the world. They live through Carol and others and on something as beautiful as Christmas Eve. Yeshua lives again through the beauty of Carol's open heart and voice, as Carol serves as the most amazing vehicle for that purity of thought form and no other. And so I ask you, Carol, before we close, the most amazing and exciting question that I wanted to ask you. What
Okay.
does Christmas mean to Carol Messenger?
I'm just, it's a time to renew faith in yourself and in how you interact in the world and how you interact with other people. Really, what it comes down to is looking for the best in others. That's how we get away from judging, is when we see who they really are, and we can understand the bigger picture of of what's going on with them. It helps us to be more compassionate about their story. I'm just here. I'm just here and glad to have the opportunity to be a voice, because it's my favorite thing to do. I get such, these are the moments when I feel 100%. Totally like, this is why I'm here. And to feel, and it's, you don't feel like that all the time. So when I'm in that space, it's like, well, this is perfection. This is what perfection feels like. I have learned that not having the expectation and just doing whatever you do as furiously as you can, diligently, never giving up, keeping at it, that seems to lead to everything else. And so whenever things show up, it's like, thank you, just gratitude. Because you don't have the expectation, you can just live in gratitude all the time for when things do happen that are magical. Magic seems to happen that way, and it can happen anywhere, and it can happen anywhere at any time. That, I feel, is really nurturing to the human being. And remembering this is who I am and why I'm here. And we all have a story. And we all are here for that kind of a reason in our own way. And just remembering that is probably the key to happiness.
That is so magnificent, Carol. And Mary Magdalene wants to, just with so much love and heart-centeredness, she wants to add, to say to you, Carol, to me, and to everyone watching, and to anyone that will be drawn to this video in the future, because just like Carol said, if you are here and you're watching it, chances are there's a reason, and that reason is because you heeded the call of your divine inner spark. And so Mary just wants to say, a mustard seed breaks silence. It's planted and it grows and it grows and it grows. And tonight, on this holy Christmas Eve, beyond Christmas night, we plant the seed of love, hope, faith, and let the journey of each of you serve as the mustard seed, not only for your spiritual evolvement, awakening, remembering, relearning, and reintegrating, but let that mustard seed grow and grow and grow until it becomes you, so that anyone you come in contact with, you overlight their soul and you help them to see and to hear their own self-divine expression so they can have peace. They can have love. They can see no judgment. They see compassion. They see humility. They see forgiveness. And they become the mustard seed of this world as humanity shifts into massive awakening. We truly are the ones we have been waiting for. So let us grow our seeds as much as we can and continue to plant ourselves wherever we are called and needed for the greater divine design, for the human design. Yes, while it is flawless in its own divine perfection, it grows and it grows together with the divine all that is and divine inner spark. And like a marriage and the bride and groom with its divine feminine and divine masculine, let that harmonic convergence, let that Vesica Pisces within you that forms all form within the flower of life, let it grow and blossom within your own inner selves and sparks of your own divine being, so that you grow kindness, seed compassion, seed love, seed forgiveness, and plant immortal divine love and healing everywhere you step your feet on every soil. Namaste. Blessings. Thank you, Carol Messenger, for everything. It was such a beautiful evening. We look forward to having you on again when you release your new book.
Sometime middle to, yeah, this time next year. Summer or fall, probably fall. I don't know. I'm working. It's just a question of finishing the finishing touches.
Oh, believe us, we'll be helping you to promote that like we did with,
Okay.
we had Alan Steinfeld on our last year's New Year's predictions, as we actually esotericguidesnyc.com, www.esotericguidesnyc.com. We are actually celebrating on our 1 year anniversary, and our biggest show was the New Year's predictions. As a matter of fact, at this time last year, and Alan Steinfeld was just talking about the release of his Making Contact book. And now it's all the way out, and now it's a virtual campus for so many people. And so we look forward to Carol's new book, and it's called The Bringers of Light. Is that correct, Carol?
Yes, the third wave.
And Carol, also, before you go, how can we find you?
Oh, my website is under my name,
Okay.
carolmessenger.com, but it's also awakeningkeys.com.
Okay.
And I thought that's easier to remember if you can't spell my name.
We'll
All
put that
of my
in.
latest editions of all of my books are on the website, some freebies. My YouTube videos, which I'm very busy with those, are also linked off the website, and you can then subscribe from there. A lot going on. It's just a question of me showing up to do it. There, he keeps me very busy. So whenever I'm ready, he's right there. He's like, yeah, me too. Yeah, he's very excited. He loves to write books. I could tell that Jesus loves writing. He loves to talk and share his stories. There is so much to share. But all of the materials that we've received so far, they all have the same information. We're just always getting a new update.
Well, to add to that, yes, he loves writing. He loves reading. There's got to be the Essene lineage in him that loves that.
Yeah, of course.
And then Mary wants to add just one last advice. Just show up to your life.
Just show up. Yeah.
You don't need to do anything. You don't need to have an expectation or any kind of perception, because that often leads to judgment. Just show up. Sometimes you don't need to do anything. Just be fully present within your own body and within your own being. Be present to your divine self and be present to your humanness. And when you connect the two, and don't bridge or distance both and separate them both, because they're all the same. You are divine and you are human. When you connect those two and you are fully embodied and present to your divine self, when you honor your authenticity, when you authenticate your authenticity, and you are fully present to your body as a human and as divine, and you feel safe walking on this earth, affirm that you are feeling safe to be who you are. And once you affirm safety within your own beingness, nothing can stop you. You're not limited. You are limitless. May we suggest that every day you affirm to yourself before you go to sleep and once you wake up, I am whole. I am safe. I am complete. I am fulfilled. And when you feel fulfillment in your life as your divine self and as your human self, you are limitless. We wish you the most amazing, blessed Christmas Eve in total honor, understanding, love, kinship, and forgiveness. Most importantly, compassion as you embark on the new journey of 2022. Thank you, Carol.
Thank you,
Thank you.
dear.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much. I'm so grateful. Thank you.
Of course. And I also want to add and bring up Michael Ney, who's part of the Beyond Being Human project. Michael, if you're still with us.
Hello. Hey.
Hello, hello, hello.
With my star background there. Yeah.
It's beautiful. How are we feeling today, Michael? Michael actually was coordinator of the channeling panel that we did together with Carol, Donna D'Angelo, and Kendra Jonas just recently.
Yeah.
Well,
how am I feeling now after that? Really high.
Are you showing up to your beingness? Because that's the
Yeah.
message of tonight. Please show up to your beingness.
Yeah. Well, and I'm beyond being human.
Thank God. It feels so much better.
You know what?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Michael.
I guess most of your audience don't know the background story, how the words beyond being human actually came to me via an angelic sort of presence. I had an awakening experience, I guess you'd call it. And the project's just been rolling out over the last 5 years, but very much, especially the last year, but the last 6 months have been cram-packed with all sorts of stuff. And Mariana, you've just joined us fairly soon. When was that? 3 months ago. And actually, I'll just share the screen if I may.
Sure.
And
while you're doing that, Michael, I'm going to put in the chat box Awakening Keys to Humanity, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
AwakeningKeys.com.
Got it. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
So this is our YouTube channel, and what we're looking to do now is, yes, release that channeling panel, which won't be too far down the track. And so we've done a couple of other panels recently, the last few months, one on hybrids, and the first one that you were involved with, Mariana, was paranormal versus multidimensional. Yes. And all these panels are really quite amazing experiences. And we did one recently with the Beyond Christmas show with Celestine Starr and Adam Apollo and Mike Cleland, with my co-director, James Carman. And there was something else that I actually wanted to show you as well.
Sure.
For a sec.
Mariana?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
The website is awakeningkeys.com.
Got it. Okay. I'm going to put that up again. Got it.
Thank you. Okay, go ahead, Michael.
Okay. And yeah, so Celestine Starr, I need to find it. Where are we? That's not the one.
Okay, I put that down, Carol.
Thank you, hon. Go ahead, Michael.
I'm trying to find it now. I've lost it. I have to close that. But actually, before I get to that, I guess that's the reason this is coming up. I recently found this from an amazing lady too, Kelly Johnson, and I met her on a panel or a group discussion kind of thing about near-death experiences. And she's got a YouTube channel as well, if I can find that, called AIN, and that's her there. And she's just released a new history of the universe creation, which I think, Carol, you especially might like to check out.
I get a lot of them. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll send you the link. And so let me find this one sec. Nope, that's not the one. But in one of those videos, she's listed all these Heavenly Father's pillar laws of love. And it's a really good collection to remind us of all of these very, very important things. And yeah, Celestine Starr, I just absolutely love this in the time of Christmas. Glory in the light of the radiant one. And, you know, it's just such a magnificent sort of saying. And, but yeah, right now I'm busy organizing and constructing, creating even the new Beyond Being Human website, which is beyondbeinghuman.org. And that's a new address. And that will be out early January. And all of the interviews, including yours, Carol, will be coming up on the website. And yeah, so, oh, were you not seeing my screen just then?
See you now. I see you, not Mariana.
There we go. Yeah.
You certainly do keep me busy. Is what I have to.
Yeah. And let me open that again. One sec. And yeah, this is the one. Glory, you can see that, glory in the light of the radiant one. And with that, I guess I'll pass it back to Mariana. And oh, she's not there now.
Where is she? Did she go? Where is she?
I don't know. I don't know.
Mariana, are you there? She has a show tomorrow. I was hoping to follow it, but I can't remember.
Lost connection. Sorry, guys.
You want to mention your show about tomorrow? Because I can't find the email link, and it sounded really interesting. What you're doing tomorrow?
Which one?
You're doing a show tomorrow that looked really interesting that I saw an email on, and I
have to check. I have to check her all. You know what it is? I had like 3 shows this week. It's absolutely amazing. Yeah.
Well, it was a Christmas Day show, so I don't remember. It looked
and I
great.
coming up next week too. And then on the 30th and on January 6th, I actually have Anna Otero. She's joining us from Spain, from the Mary Magdalene Mystery School. And then on it's going to be a big one. So you could join us on that and just kind of give a message at the end.
That sounds fantastic. The Mystery School, I love it. The whole thing is like, oh, yes, indeed.
And then we also, at some point, I think in February, we have Kiara Winbear. Well, Kiara is going to be coming on, and Kiara is doing actually an entire new trilogy book on Jesus and his life in Kashmir. On the
Cool.
oh yeah, so we have a lot of stuff coming up, and most importantly, we are actually going to be having a morphogenesis show. It's like almost like a workshop turned into a podcast coming up at the end of January with I think Philip Gruber, Marina Saran, and Geraldine Orozco. And that's something that you will definitely love checking out, because that's part of the DNA awakening and the advancement of the DNA.
Okay. Yeah, I've gotten a lot about the DNA thing. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
great.
So, yeah, it's really fun to get it independently. I get it independently. And then after the fact, I hear all this other stuff and I'm going, cool. I'm not the only one. It's always
It's great.
reassuring that, you know, I channel stuff and I hear other people are getting it too. So
It's great. Well, at the end of everything, aside from thanking Carol and Michael, thank you so much, Michael. I want to say a special thank you to Scott Michael Harney, who is the founder of Esoteric Guides NYC. He's the brain, the producer, and the director behind everything. And I just want to say a big thank you to him, because without him, this would not be possible. And I'm so thankful and honored. This is one of my best, if not the best show that I have yet to do today. So, Carol, it's been a pleasure spending Christmas Eve
I'm
night. I
so
couldn't think of
grateful
anyone
and so
better.
honored. Yes. Thank you, sister.
And you know what? Just to remind everyone as a last and final thought, all we are asking for 2022 is that you show up to your beingness, because you are truly here, as Carol said, to bring balance into being.
That's right.
And you don't have to do anything. Just breathe. Just show up, because your energy is more than enough. Because the truth is, not only are you worthy, for those out there that are dealing and still struggling with the concept of worthiness and confidence and being enough, you are enough. You have grace, you have love, and you have light. And you are here as a spiritual being experiencing a human journey, and not the other way around. And because you are here only experiencing this journey without getting caught up in the drama of this planet or a particular lifetime, you should help the planet. You should consider to choose, because it is a planet of free will, to help the planet and assist in helping others awaken.